The debate around Bitcoin is in full force. Will Tesla lead other companies to follow? Joining me now from Texas, co-founder and chief strategist at GDP Advisors, Seth Denson. Seth, what do you think about all this? I think last time we had a conversation about Bitcoin, you're not a huge fan of Bitcoin, or maybe this will change your mind.
Well, I don't know that I'm there yet, but as I mentioned that last time we talked, Stephanie, the more that we see organizations start to support Bitcoin by way of engaging in its currency transactions, the more I become maybe more open to the idea. But here's the thing that I want to caution people on. And recognize that Elon Musk didn't do this himself personally. He did this with his company, Tesla. Tesla's now part of the S&P 500. So now if you own any part of the S&P 500 index stock, you now kind of own Bitcoin because it's part of your overall portfolio. This understandably is a new shift in fiduciary responsibility that I think will play out very interestingly in the days to come. I mean, Bitcoin, by and large, over the last 3 weeks, has fluctuated 40%. So right now, Elon Musk and Tesla look brilliant because they made their shareholders effectively what could be equated to about $150 million very quickly. That could go the other way very, very fast.
Yeah, well, and of course, you still have to keep in mind government regulation. I still see them coming down and cracking the whip on cryptocurrency because we know that the government doesn't really love cryptocurrency.
Well, they don't. And again, the beauty of cryptocurrency to those that love it is the fact that it's a decentralized currency. But here's the other side of that. And I think that there's little rumbling starting to happen. The more that the Elon Musk and the businesses side get into this, the more you might have manipulation without governance, right? Because there's no state backing here. And so you've got to watch out for manipulation. Effectively, we may be creating this huge currency oligarchy if more and more of these businesses are investing in Bitcoin.
Yeah. Now, I'll shift gears here. Apparently, there's a chip shortage, which is hurting the automaker industry. So what's going on with that and what's causing the shortage? Is it pandemic related?
It's absolutely pandemic related. It's actually twofold related. One is, we'll go back to what we just talked about, Bitcoin, right? Specifically for car manufacturers, it's chips, right? It's electrical components. And a lot of these electrical components are being bought to mine more Bitcoin. By the way, quick note, the vast majority of Bitcoin being mined right now is being done by China. So there's a new nugget for you to be keeping in mind. But here's the reality. This is basic economics. You just can't flip the switch back on. For these chips to get developed, you have mining that has to happen, then smelting, then assembly, then packaging, then transport, then delivery. I think a lot of these, we'll call them bureaucrats and government officials who said, let's shut off the economy, thought that one day they would just be able to flip the switch back on. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, you think of like the pandemic and how many shortages it's causing. The ripple effect, I've seen just so many businesses and organizations talk about, well, I haven't necessarily been hit by the pandemic, like we're still operating, but now I have a shortage of products. For example, I went to go buy biking shoes the other day, and they said, oh, well, we're like totally out of stock on so many things. And even when it comes to like bikes, we won't have bikes here for like 6 to 8 months. And so, yeah, they're having a hard time getting the products to sell. It's incredible how that's all working. So we'll see.
Not just toilet paper anymore.
Yeah, that too. I wanted to ask you about spring break. So I remember last spring break, the spring breakers were pretty upset because, well, like the college kids were very upset because they couldn't go on their spring break. And those who did, they were villainized by the media. So we're at that point again, and it sounds like spring break is still canceled for the most part. And how's that going to affect, like you think of like restaurants, hotel industry? It's going to be another hard year.
Yeah, this is an industry that's been decimated on two sides, right? They're decimated from the fact that people can't go utilize their services, and then they're told by government that if they'll comply by doing things like allow for outdoor dining in tents, which makes them now indoor, and spend all of this money with ventilation systems that they can comply, and then they're shut down again, and then just it's the back and forth that, Stephanie, we've talked about so much. This spring break, if they lose out on that revenue opportunity, it just could be the final nail in the coffin, and it's really sad. I remember last spring break, we were talking about 15 days to slow the spread. We're looking like it's going to be more like 15 months.
Yeah, that's terrible. Well, Seth, we're out of time. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie.